Sue should be out here by about 7:30.
Yeah.
Starting, are we? All right, I would like to call to order. Oh, we've got the echo going again.
Yeah, we said we got
Is that okay?
a comment. Can anybody online hear us? Oh, we got okay. Hold on, we're making a,
Same thing happened at finance.
We thought we got this fixed in finance and personnel, but. We good? Okay. I would like to call to order the Monday, March 18th meeting of the City of Monona City Council. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bernstein. Alder Zapula.
Hi.
Alder Humquist.
Here, sorry. Thanks,
Alder-
Rick.
Alder Moore is not here yet. Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Rademacher. Here. Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. There are no appearances, unless something's come through
I
recently.
believe so, no?
There's no public hearing tonight. We have one item on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Moving on to council action items, I'm going to move up two items, the first two items under new business, so that Mr. Belangia can get on the highway and head back. So the first item is 2A, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2698, authorizing the issuance and sale of $3.4 million in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2024A. This is put forth by the Finance Director, and it's starred for immediate approval. So is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Was there a second?
Second.
And we're doing this because there's a time element involved in getting the borrowing.
Yeah, just a couple of things.
We haven't voted on that yet.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And is there a motion to approve
Move to approve.
the resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Just a quick thing before Jeff talks. These are two borrowings. They're related to the 2024 capital budget, which we did back in October. So once we go through that, we borrow for the money down here. This is the time of year, it's usually the best time of year. A lot of times to borrow for the money. So last meeting was the authorization for Jeff to start working on with the bondholders and put that out to the market, and now he got the rates back. This is a result of our approving that last resolution at the last meeting.
Jeff?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. As I said, with finance, Mark did a stellar job in terms of our call with Standard & Poor's. Bill and I were teasing a little bit because Bill knows a few things about law, and I was just grousing about the regulatory agencies and how they kind of treat us like criminals in that call. Some of the questions I was a little bit offended by, but anyway, Mark did a great job. You have a great rating. It's been reestablished at the AA+ for our general fund borrowings, and your utility is at the A+ where it's always been. So that's great news. You do have in front of you a one-sheet handout with respect to the pricing, and on the top is a $3.4 million capital projects fund. the financing for that, and the prices are from a 3.17 in year one to a 3% out in 33 with some 284, 85, 288s. Really some pretty nice prices relative to where we've been over the last 8-10 months to a year. The way it was trending certainly wasn't in our favor, but it certainly has seemed to pick up with the the unwillingness of the feds to go either way with rates now. Keep expecting them to come down and then they don't, and we keep expecting them to come down and they don't, and so I think the market's kind of got used to that. That all being said, we end up with a TIC, or a true interest cost, on the gross dollars of 3.55%, and any investment earnings are going to erode that number. My guess is by the time our construction is done on these monies, you're probably going to end up looking at closer to a 3.30 in terms of what that real true interest cost is. But this is a picture in time. It takes it as the day of the sale and these particular numbers. So,
Any
Any-
questions? Are
any
you done?
questions?
Rick, did you have something?
Yeah. I'm curious, last time you were here, we were looking at bonds about 5% or so?
You have a good memory, Rick. Those were taxable though.
Okay, that's
So
the difference
these,
here?
yes, sir. These are tax exempt. That previous issue, that was a refunding, a refinancing, was for a project where we have guaranteed income payments for the debt service from a for-profit entity. So the IRS says, listen, you can't issue tax exempt debt for that because it's basically being guaranteed by a for-profit. So, but that's a great, you're right, there were fives. Yep.
Any other questions for? No? Okay, well, hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder DePulo,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Rademacher,
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2699, authorizing the issuance and sale of $1.6 million in water system and sewer system revenue bond anticipation notes, Series 2024B, and this is also start for immediate approval. Is there a motion?
Move to
take this?
suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mark?
This is for our enterprise fund. Every couple of years, we obviously do some improvements. That could be extensions, improvements to that, the utility, that's water and wastewater. And they're paid for a little bit differently. They aren't a general obligation ad valorem tax without limit like our general fund is. So they're issued a bit differently. And because of the amount is relatively small, we really don't want to incur the additional costs of doing a long-term bond issue every year for our short-term funding. So this particular issue matches a $1,550,000 bond anticipation note that happens to mature on February 1st, 2026, just like this one. And at that time, we'll be between now and then, of course, your department heads will be obviously determining what projects may need to be done over the next period of years. So there could be another small new money issue that will be rolled into the $1,550,000 that's existing and this $1,650,000 that you're considering this evening. So it's just going to make it a lot better on our rates also, because these short-term notes put no pressure on your utility rates payments. As long-term bonds, we obviously have to provide some coverage. Between now and 2 years, we'll have paid off a bunch of your debt on your bonds, and we won't have to go out as long-term with this to keep the cash flows where they are, if that makes sense. So what we're trying to do is borrow money and keep the cash flows with the utility, because operation and maintenance far outweighs your interest costs on the debt service.
Questions?
Yep. So basically, the strategy would be, we would combine the existing 1.5, this one, and whatever new was coming up. We'd have about a $4.5 million or so issue to take to the market. We'd save the cost of doing that and probably get a better rate, right?
Definitely get a better rate, and the cost of doing it, Doug, you're pretty sharp. Yeah, probably gonna be a third, well, a little more than a third of what it would be to do each of these issues separately. So, yeah, we get some economies of scale, and from an interest rate standpoint, we're gonna get better pricing, because they are bonds, and we're gonna get larger block sizes, on an annual basis to pay that debt out, so. And it's great, you know, if we have roughly 4 million maybe, or whatever that might be, it doesn't take, even if we're doing $300,000 a year, 12, 13 years, we're paid out. Sorry. And we fit it into what we're paying now, because I can quickly. Utilities, you know, right now, we're paying, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong issue. One second, I wanted to get, where we are in terms of our utility rates. I think we're paying something like $600,000 a year.
Combined.
Yeah, all of them total combined. So,
Principal.
principal and interest.
Yeah, interest is less than
Is that our utility? We're up to 9, okay.
6 a year.
So we're able to amortize, there's the coverage, we're able to amortize quite a bit of debt in a short period of time.
Good.
Any other questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Holmquist. Alder Moore.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher. Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder DePulo.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Safe journeys home.
I have an international guest actually driving from Chicago right now to my house, so.
Oh.
And there's nobody at my house, so
Oh, well. Better get home as quickly as you can, I guess.
hopefully he knows the code to the garage. I gave it to him.
Thank you. Okay, moving back to our agenda, unfinished business. Item 1A, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2686, adopting a master plan for the San Damiano property put forth by the San Damiano Steering Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve?
Second.
I guess Wes and Andy are here if we have any questions. I think you all have had an opportunity to view the plan. Did either of you want to add anything? So I guess we're open for questions, if anyone has any. If not, we will go ahead and hold the vote. Right?
I can just note that, I know the master plan that was linked in the document, there were some additional items that were being corrected from the last meeting that maybe didn't make the packet, so anybody that's looked at this draft that's linked, it might not be the most up-to-date version, to know that those corrections are being made, even if it's approved tonight.
Yeah, Neil, I don't know if you wanted to explain what's going on with that.
Yeah, just briefly, as Alder Holmquist pointed out, some versions in terms of some edits that were either made to a former version or not quite made to the correct version that we wanted to see. So we are in process of doing a kind of a final once over of the actual document. So from a content standpoint, the premise of the plan is accurate. There are simply a couple of areas where there's some misspellings and other edits we're still doing. Just wanted to clean up before the final document is printed and published, so.
Teresa?
For those who may be watching, can we just have sort of an explanation of now what, right? So now that the master plan is before us, and if it passes tonight, then what?
Well, the next step would be to negotiate a MOU with the Friends of San Damiano, who are all of the capital improvements on this plan. Right now, it is planned that they will be funded by fundraising, not by general obligation tax, the tax roll. So we need to negotiate a new MOU. We have one that pretty much extended through the end of the planning process. So that will be happening, and then we're also, as part of that, talking about a public-private partnership which we're just getting into the details of that right now, so. But in the meantime, people are welcome to visit San Damiano, and I know there's several events planned there coming up in the next couple of months, and just keep your eyes open for more news about it.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, if there aren't any other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plan is finally approved. Thank you. Thanks, Andy and Wes. Thanks for coming tonight. And thanks for all your help with this.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Next item 1B, consideration of resolution 24-3-2676, amending the 2024 capital budget for additional funding to complete water well aquifer pump maintenance put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. This item was on the first read a few weeks ago. We did take it to the Public Works Committee on March 6th, and we did receive recommendation for approval for tonight. Again, we're seeking a $20,000 capital budget amendment to complete maintenance at Well 3.
Are there any questions? Rick?
Dan, if I read the invoice properly, there are a lot of what-ifs. So what if the pump needs to be replaced instead of rebuilt? Will you have to come back to us to get that additional funding?
That's correct. I'm not anticipating that need, but when they provide these quotes, they provide all those details. The aquifer pump at Well 3 has been running just fine over the years, so I'm not anticipating that cost.
Okay. I just foresee the well being not in operation for weeks. Is that a problem?
The well, you are correct. It takes a few weeks to complete the needed maintenance, but usually a 3-week time frame. But that's typical for pulling an aquifer pump.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Doug?
Yeah, Dan, is it correct that well number 1 provides the least amount of the water out of the 3 wells? And
That is correct.
2, and I'm not sure if it's 3 produces the most, or 2, I think.
Our Well 3 has been our biggest producer. We've, in the past, not have a problem with the quantity coming out of the well. Well 2 is the next one. Pumps nearly as much as Well 3, but Well 1 is definitely the least, it produces the least amount of gallons.
Okay, and this work is necessary, though, for it to function like this year?
That is correct. Because we've already had money approved in the capital budget, the $25,000, the pump or the well is actually receiving maintenance right now, so we are to the point where we're waiting on a decision for tonight for them to proceed. But irregardless whether it's well 1, 2, or 3, we have to follow the maintenance cycle as required by the DNR. Well 1 was projected to receive maintenance this year. We're shifting the priority to Well 3. We're going to communicate that with the DNR. So based on what we find with Well 3, what City Council determines with Well 1 later this year, by the time we entertain the capital budget for next year, I'll know whether we're going to prioritize Well 2 next and put Well 3 in 2026. But we have time to make that decision yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Rademacher,
Aye.
Alder Bernstein,
Aye.
Alder DePula,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, item C, consideration of resolution 24-3-2677, amending the 2024 capital budget for the purchase of replacement trash and recycling carts. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. This also received the Public Works recommendation for approval for City Council tonight at our March 6th meeting. To summarize, seeking a capital budget amendment for $7,300 to purchase 54 trash carts and 54 recycling carts.
Any questions about this one? Patrick?
Dan, just wanted to double check. At our meeting, we talked about in the future, you're going to probably put about 50 carts in the budget annually, right? So we can rebuild
Either
that stock a
annually
little
or
bit.
every other year.
Every other year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And the lifespan of the carts were what, 10 years?
They come with a 10-year warranty. The majority of our recycle carts that are in the system now are approaching 20 years already. So I would say we're lucky that they've gone that long. But 10 years is the warranty period.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Rademacher,
Aye.
Alder Bernstein,
Aye.
Alder DePula,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist,
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E, consideration of resolution 24-3, or I'm sorry, item D. Consideration of resolution 24-3-2678, amending the 2024 capital budget for engineering assistance to renew the 2001 Wisconsin DNR approval of well 4 site location put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. This also received the recommendation from the Public Works Committee at our March 6th meeting. We're seeking a $10,000 capital budget amendment to renew the site approval with the DNR. That's all that we're seeking to do at this time. Any future work for Well 4 will be at the direction of City Council and the Public Works Committee. But as of right now, this funding is strictly to renew the approval with the state.
Okay, Rick?
Dan, this license renewal will last 2 years, correct?
The previous one lasted 2 years. I'm not sure what the current, if they've changed things since 2003. I don't know that, but we'll find out once we complete the site survey and submit it to the DNR. I don't know that right now.
Okay. But when I talked to you earlier, I got the impression that there was no compelling need at this point. So is there a plan simply to keep this available should there be a need?
Well, that is correct. In I guess, in the opinion of staff, it's good planning to have that site approved by the state. So when the city does need to move with design for Well 4, we don't have to go through those steps and take up valuable time. There are going to be things in front of City Council in the future where we might get the directive to proceed, but at this time, it's strictly planning purposes and to have it ready in case we need it.
Neil, do you want to address that?
Just in terms of, I guess, to build on what Director Stefani was saying, obviously, if we end up having an issue with an existing well, we wouldn't want to have to basically spend the time to get this approval in place if there was an issue with another well. So by having this ready to go, it's simply a prudent planning effort at this point.
Okay. So at the end of this next license, we'll just try to re-up it again, rather than let it lapse for both
I
of the
think
years.
that would be staff's recommendation, is to keep it available
Yes.
Okay.
for when we need it,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Doug?
My understanding is, I mean, it's possible as part of the planning for the public safety building, that well number 1, that it would make it a lot easier, I don't know how much, but easier to do the site plan if well number 1 weren't there. And so then we might be looking for a new well site
Oh.
at some point.
Yeah, that's also possible.
I had a question too.
Okay, Doug?
Dan, this doesn't involve the actual design, like for where the building would be located or anything like that, correct?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Because obviously being across from one of our busiest city parks, we do need going forward to make sure coordinate work on this with parks, with the Parks Department. So that at that, if we get down the road, that location within Waterman Way Park could be important.
Yeah, and
You know,
I'm sure you'll
without-
take that into consideration, won't you, Dan?
Yes, absolutely. Without completing any design work, but I think the staff preference would be to place that well more towards Clear Spring Court in that part of the property. Also, the Waterman Way Park has an extremely large right-of-way. So I think we'd want to take care of those right-of-way lines and reestablish those as well. But everything is going to be dependent on where we find water.
Yeah.
When we get that far, once we receive the directive from the Public Works Committee and City Council to proceed with well 4, it's going to be my request of the engineer that we look for water closer to the cul-de-sac rather than over near Winnequa Road. That's the best I can tell you right now, but I do agree, if we can try and shift that well away from Winnequa Road, that'd be a better location.
Okay.
I think part of the issue here too is we need something on the north side of the city, is that correct, Dan? Because of where the other wells are located?
That is correct.
And we prefer to have it on city-owned land because otherwise we have to pay $1 million
Right.
to buy some private homes, which could be problematic.
Correct. And I believe that's why staff and city council back in 2000, 2001 timeframe, I think that's probably what they had in mind back then, focusing on the north side of town. It's far away from our current 3 wells. It's on city property, which we wouldn't have to buy property and take it off the tax roll. But I know the renditions that were in the file show the structure closer to Winnequa Road. I don't believe that would be the staff preference. It'd be nice if we could get it over near Clear Spring Court.
Anyone
But
else?
we'll figure that out when the time comes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone else? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bernstein?
Aye.
Alder DePula?
Aye.
Alder Holmquist?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
All right.
Alder Rademacher?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E,
Thank you.
consideration of Resolution 24-3-2679, approving a design contract for Nichols Road reconstruction put forth by the Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. So the Nichols Road project, the design contract was approved by the Public Works Committee on the 6th of this month. There is no changes from the last time that we met and it was discussed. I'll take any questions from the council at this point.
Teresa?
I have some. At our last council meeting, I think it was Alder Holmquist that brought up the question about the, how do I describe it? There's a tiny parking lot which would open onto a new 4-way intersection, but it would also remain as part of the, it would still be connected to the larger parking lot, I guess. And I think there was a question about school buses and how those buses would travel to the back and the lower parking lot of the elementary school. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so that is just conceptual at this point. It's an idea to make the intersection safer and have less driveway protrusions out onto Nichols Road. The less access points that you have, the safer the street. And with how busy the city center is, especially in the summertime, That would be the preference from staff. That is not necessarily part of this design contract at this point. It's just for the concept alone. So if the Civic Campus building were to be moving forward at some point in the future, it's possible that the driveway and parking orientation in front of the community center as it exists would need to be revised and moved around. And if that was the case, and a lot of ifs, then we would look at potentially moving the driveway access to Healy Lane and make it a four-way intersection. So it is not part of this design contract that you're voting on tonight.
This is very preliminary, right?
Yes. Yeah, so that's correct, Mayor.
We'll have to go back through Public Works and
Yeah.
various other committees.
I guess my
Yes.
my final question was kind of just just a sort of a over larger question. You mentioned the public safety building or the civic campus, and I guess I'm wondering, the last thing anyone wants to do, and I'm confident that you've already thought of all this. I just for my own clarification, we wouldn't want to spend a lot of time creating this beautiful new road and then have to undo it or dig it up later when the public, safety building would go there, right? I mean, how is that being thought about?
So that's correct. It would be preferable to try and time the Nichols Road reconstruction with any type of future improvements on Civic Campus, especially if it involved, fairly significant equipment traveling in and out off of the Nichols Road and onto driveway accesses and or reorienting driveway accesses, closing some new or old ones up, building some new ones. So that would be the preference. Is just the grant window that we have is construction has a sunset date of 2026. So as of right now, we have to move forward, assuming that construction will happen in 2026. And the design process with the DOT is a minimum of 2 years. So we really have to get going right now. It is possible that we can negotiate with the MPO to move the funding window and swap our funding window with somebody else in the TIP, which is the Transportation Improvement Plan. And then we could potentially move the Nichols Road reconstruction back so that it aligns much better with any type of improvements that might happen on Civic Campus. So that is possible, but we still need to approve the design contract as it is in front of you, move forward with design in 2024, potentially in 2025. And if we can shelf the project, then that's absolutely fine. There's some slight incurred costs probably with inflation and whatnot, but it's minimal. And it'd be much less than what it would cost to tear the road back up and redo it after it's all
So there's the
reconstructed.
design that we're really talking about, but the actual physical, the construction, the work could possibly, it wouldn't have to start necessarily based on conversations with the MPO and,
That's correct.
okay, but as far as
Yeah,
tonight, we're just talking about design. We have to approve it tonight.
And quite a
Okay.
bit of this is actually on the other side of Nichols Road also,
Yeah,
right, on
yeah.
the south side.
Yep.
Doug?
I guess first, just a comment on the MPO funding situation.
Sure.
I think the MPO would probably be pretty open to moving the money back, but, I can't say for sure, but that's not that uncommon. That does happen, as it does with our capital projects. My other comment and this, I think, was from the capital improvements request form. It references an 8-foot wide multi-use pathway on one side. And I guess I would really strongly encourage us to try to go to at least 10 feet. If it's going to be truly multi-use, I think that 8 feet is, as a user, I would say it's substandard. I don't know what the design standards say for sure. I know when talking about the pathway through Winnequa Park, that's going to be 10 feet wide. And that was sort of what the design person for that said, 10 feet is what we're doing. Actually, the state, I think, has increased it to 12 feet. Granted, those are different kinds of projects. So anyway, I guess the point is, I'm fine with going ahead with the design, but I do think we really need to look at, can we get 10 feet there? And if we have to, so I will stop there.
Anyone else? Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Next, item F, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2680, approving a contract for preliminary design of library lower-level HVAC improvements put forth by the library board. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Approve this. Is there a second?
Second.
Brad, are you going to address this, or is Ryan?
Well, Mayor, I can just say that, this was approved at the last library board by, meeting, and, there's been no changes on their end, and, Brad can add to this, but as far as I'm aware, there's been no changes, from the information that has been shared with council.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brad, did you have
that's
anything to
correct.
add?
Sorry, yeah, this is as was presented at the last city council meeting, and there are no changes, so I'll take any questions.
Anyone have any questions about this one? Let's see, do we need a roll call on this one, Aline? I guess it's a contract, so clerk, please call the roll.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2681, amending the 2024 capital budget for design of library rooftop and building envelope repairs, put forth by the library board. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Ryan?
Again, there's been no changes, as far as I'm aware, from the information that's been shared from council. I did not receive any questions. I don't know if Brad did, but here to answer any questions that you may have.
Brad, did you have anything to add?
No, just that the roof is 2 weeks older now and still in bad shape.
And no better to show.
Okay. Brian?
So I have one question. It goes back to something you mentioned, Brad, on our previous roofing repair addition, and the recognition that the areas that got repaired where the two came together, they didn't come together as designed or as planned. And I can't remember if you indicated that error, it was not necessarily recognized by staff, but who did we have overseeing that project when something wasn't completed as we expected at that time? And how do we ensure that that error doesn't happen again?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a design flaw. They designed it as exactly as the first edition was designed for the rooftop. But on a shingled roof, you can't have gutters and valleys that pitch backwards. So I'm not sure if it was anybody's fault. It was just a matter of the design went through facilities committee twice. They approved it. Nobody really saw the issue, and then all of a sudden we saw it when it rained the first time after it was built. So this project will fix that. We are going to fur out those areas so there are no back-pitched spots on the rooftop. Everything will flow evenly from the top to the bottom. And we're going to make a couple other repairs in different locations, like where the original roof line meets the brand new addition, the 2001 edition, where we have seen issues as well, where we have a wall that goes up that meets a shingled roof line, and there's rubber membrane that's eroded away because it's constantly in the shade, and it's grown moss, and moss and algae can eat away at the membrane. So there's other things that we're going to do there. So there's several issues, and this is usually what happens when you, sadly, when you add on to a building 4 or 5 times, put different roof lines in, attach new additions, it's bound to happen that something gets missed like that. It happened with the HVAC system in this building 20-some years ago, and it's had issues ever since. It's happened with the roof line or the rooftop. It's happened in other areas in the facility as well. Same goes for City Hall, so it's pretty common.
Any other questions? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Motion passes. Let's see, item H, consideration of resolution 24-3-2682, approving a contract for design engineering of library rooftop and building envelope repairs, also put forth by the library board. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve?
Oh, second.
Ryan and Brad.
Again, Mayor, nothing to add in terms of new information. I have not received any questions from council, but I'm here to answer anything that I can. Though I'll probably defer to Brad's expertise, but happy to chime in.
And this is basically the contract that's going to make use of the budget amendment that we just approved, correct?
Yep.
Any further questions about this? Doug?
I see that the change will be paid for at a capital fund balance. That's the city capital fund balance?
Yes.
Not the library? Okay.
Any other
I do have
questions?
one, just so that it's a reminder more than anything, that this project will be bid with the Public Works Garage roof and building envelope updates, and we'll be bidding it as 2 alternates, so A and B. And we're doing that so that we can try and find the lowest prices and get competitive bids, because it's a larger project.
Any other questions? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving into new business. Item C, consideration of resolution 24-3-2692, approving a contract with Newbridge for senior center case management services, put forth by the senior center director, and this one is starred for immediate approval. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
I move to take this out of order.
Second.
Could you explain why it's starred for immediate approval, Diane? Do you?
We're basically already paying for this service. So this is basically a contract that just explains a budgeted item for our case management and home chore coordination that we pay for through Newbridge. So yeah, they charge us monthly for those services, and if it's approved, that's even better. So,
And this was approved in the operating budget?
Yep, this is all approved budget. Nothing new. We do this contract every year.
So we've got a motion and a second to take it out of order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Diane, did you have anything else to explain?
Unless anybody has any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Yep.
Rick?
This is basically the same contract you've had for several years.
It is.
So there's nothing different than,
There is nothing different. Yep. So we haven't traditionally brought it in front of council. That would be the only thing that's different.
Neil?
That would be my fault, Alder Bernstein. Just noted that it came in for approval and thought, I didn't think contracts need to go to council.
Yeah.
So it's just a slight change in the approval process, so.
an eagle eye.
No.
There you go. All right, well, thank you.
Okay, is there, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bernstein?
Aye.
Alder DePulo?
Aye.
Alder Holmquist?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Aye.
Alder Rademacher?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Diane. Moving on, next item, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2693, approving a facility use agreement with Lake Monona Sailing Club, put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board. Jake?
Do you need to have a motion to approve?
No, this is just a first
Our
read.
first read. All right, so this is recommended for approval by Parks and Recreation Board at our last meeting, longstanding facility use agreement with Lake Monona Sailing Club at Stonebridge Park, allows for public access and use of a pier. In exchange, the club is able to offer slip rentals for its members. This is a 3-year term that was updated at the Finance and Personnel meeting, and the terms and the scope and fees are in your packet.
So it's 5.
Doug?
The resolution says 5 years?
Oh, that's right. Did the
Oh, I'm
council
sorry.
get the new?
Yes.
Got the new
handed
one.
out the new
Sorry,
Okay.
my fault.
That's okay.
Yep, it is 3 years. Yep.
Yeah, so we've got a new version of the resolution. But this is basically similar to the other contracts we've had with them. Is that correct, Jake?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mayor, but
Bill?
to Doug's, in the contract, the term, section 3, does say it ends March 31, 2026. That should be March 31, 2027, right, Jake?
That's correct.
Okay, and we will change that for the next meeting. Okay, is that okay, Bill?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thanks for pointing that out. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2694, approving a facility use agreement with Monona Swim and Dive Club, also put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board, and this one also has a correction in the resolution. Is that the only place there was a correction in that one?
I believe so,
I
Mayor.
think for-
This is
it
a
originally said
3-year
5 years, and this, it said for this year, I guess, for the current year, but it's a 3-year contract.
Correct.
so.
Historically, we've done year-to-year facility use agreements with Monona Swim and Dive. Both parties feel comfortable with the pool time allotment for the club and for our residents and recreational swimmers, and so a 3-year term is appropriate here. The dates and times for year 3 will be amended in the contract once we get the school calendar finalized for that summer, which we don't have yet. This was recommended for approval by the Park and Rec Board at the last meeting.
Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to one more for Jake, consideration of Resolution 24-3, or no, he has 3 more, I guess. 2695, approving a facility use agreement with Surf Shack Rentals, put forth by the Parks and Rec Board.
Yeah, so this is a new venture. We were approached over the last couple seasons about the opportunity to offer kayak rentals and stand-up paddleboard rentals at one of our lakefront parks. This is similar to B-Cycle, in which a third-party operator would bring in a rack and the kayaks at no cost to the city. There would be a web-based way of registering and paying for rental of these kayaks, self-serve system at Schluter Park, at Schluter Beach. And we would receive 10% of gross sales. So it's a no-risk operation, or low risk anyway, financially to the city. Be located at one of our premier parks, and gives our residents and visitors an opportunity to rent kayaks, and I believe a handful of stand-up paddleboards as well. And so the park board, based on my recommendation, is to try a 1-year contract with this company. They have locations at Lake Agansa State Park, Sandy Beach Park, and Lake Mills, and several other parks in southeast Wisconsin. And I think it will be a nice opportunity for our residents and visitors.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, consideration, which is start for immediate approval. Consideration of Resolution 24-3-2696, approval to apply for a Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant for the implementation of Maywood Park Master Plan put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Motion to take this out of order.
Second.
And I think this is, we're asking to take this out of order because there's a time element involved in when this grant application is due. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Before we start, first of all, is there a motion to approve?
Move to
I
approve.
guess.
Second.
I just had one comment about the resolution itself. Under the now therefore, in the second line, it said the common council's budget is sum sufficient to complete the acquisition of the property. I assume this maybe wording came from a different Knowles Nelson application.
That's correct, Mayor.
So do we have
Good catch.
I think we need a friendly resolution to change that, or amendment or something.
So if we strike, has budgeted a sum sufficient to complete the acquisition of the property and.
But we already own the property. It's,
Yeah, so if we strike that, it would read.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin hereby authorizes Parks and Recreation Director Jake Anderson to act on behalf of the City of Monona to : and then it's got the four listed out.
okay. Would someone like to make that?
Oh,
Yes. I will make that modification.
Patrick? Is there
I'll
a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion of that? You got that, Elaine? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and we have a motion on the original amendment, correct, or original resolution, right?
Yeah, yes, Doug
Oh.
and Patrick. Thank you.
All right. Jake, do you want to explain this one?
Sure. As we are preparing our capital budget 5-year plan, Maywood Park has certainly seen some increased activity and importance with some recent decisions in being able to use the school and its location on the Lake Monona bike loop and run route. And so last year during our capital budget with master plan.
Could you hang on just a minute, Jake?
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yep.
There's a big echo out here, or something.
Feedback. Yeah.
Feedback? I don't know if he can hear me in there.
Yeah, it should be able to.
Like have little rubber bands.
Is he doing something in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's working on it.
I'm sorry, Jake, we've got a big amount of feedback here. It's kind of hard to...
I can talk less.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, you want us to try now?
Sure. So we started on some master planning last year when we had looked at the Reach 64 stormwater project. And so we had some funding available for initial concept plans, ran that by our DNR grant specialist. She was supportive that this was a good candidate for a DNR Knowles Nelson Stewardship grant request. The deadline is May 1st, so we are asking for part of the grant requirement is a resolution by a governing body to apply for the grant. It does not tie the city to moving forward with the project, but if we were to receive funding, that would help with deferring the overall cost of the project. And that would move into a design phase next year with construction in 2026, with master planning and public input happening over the next 3 to 5 months.
Questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, consideration of Resolution 24-3-2697, amending the 2024 capital budget for parks projects put forth by the Parks and Recreation Director, and this is also started for immediate approval.
I'll move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
A second.
And I think this is primarily a time element as well. Is that right, Jake, why we're taking this out of order?
That's correct, Mayor. Some priority, especially with playground surfacing, would like to get that installed before school's out.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Jake?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. These are just two projects, smaller dollar amount projects that quotes came in higher than what we had budgeted for. Playground surfacing is every several years we go around and top dress all of our engineered wood fiber playgrounds. And then park signs, we have Waterman Way Park, Three Meadows Park, and Winnequa Park that still have old wood routed signs. And that would be to upgrade those to match what the rest of our system looks like. Funding sources are moved within the parks capital budget as indicated in your packet.
Any questions? Basically just moving some money around. If there aren't any questions, or Brian?
Jake, it has to do with the Schaefer shelter remodel. If I remember right, some of the images, like, that was in pretty rough shape. Are we confident that shifting to, instead of replacing, just doing some repair and paint is going to be sufficient?
Yeah, we're still doing the majority of it. It's just not going to be the cement fiberboard siding. We're going to be repairing siding and repainting. But there'll still be new roof and gutters. The bathroom interior will be remodeled for ADA, and all the concrete apron work around the shelter will be redone.
And do you recall what the siding replacement cost was? Like,
yeah.
are we just kicking the cat down?
It was like $45,000 was the
So
quote
this
that I
is
had gotten on
reducing
the
it.
siding. So we still may have room. We'll see when we get the rest of the bids in to be able to do that. It was just a smaller dollar amount that I'm confident that we won't be using all of that budget.
All right. Maybe some contractor will have leftover materials for us.
Go to Restore.
Restore, there we go.
Does anyone else have any questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we are going to move on to convening in closed session. Convening closed session under Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. This involves firefighters Local 311 MOUs and the potential acquisition of Monona Drive development parcels. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
We are in closed session. Do we?